Today, I'm gonna teach you everything you need to know to shoot real estate in 5 minutes. All right, so I got 5 minutes. We gotta figure this out. Okay, so the first thing I would tell you is find a camera that does 1080-60. The camera that I started with originally was a Sony a6000. It did 1080-60, and then the lens that I got with that camera was a Rokinon 12mm. With the APS-C sensor crop, I got about an 18mm equivalent. Whatever you do, get a camera and a lens setup that's gonna give you at least 18mm. When you're going above that, it's typically not wide enough to shoot properties. So get something that is at least similar to that focal length on your camera. Yeah, so that's right, I said 5 minutes, so I really don't have a lot of time, but I'm gonna be honest, I'm really thirsty right now, so give me like 10 seconds. All right, we're back. So shooting real estate in 5 minutes, here we go. Now that's not the only camera that you can get, but that's the one I started with. Any of the Sony a6000 bodies would work really well for this with that lens setup, but you can go to a full frame, the A7 series. I also have an A7S II and a couple of A7 IIIs, and my favorite lens with that is the Canon 16-35 f2.8. It is awesome for real estate. I have also used the Laowa 12mm no-D lens, which is pretty amazing. So the next thing I would get is a drone. You have to have a drone. If you don't have a drone, it just takes away from your videos. Everyone has them, so you need to have that and need to be able to offer that. There are several drones that you can get. I would recommend a Phantom 4 Pro or a Phantom 4 Advanced, something that's gonna give you some 4K footage and the ability to grade a little bit and sharpen and make it look really nice. Whatever you do, get a drone that has 4K because 1080 on drones right now looks really bad. What's the last thing you need? You need a gimbal. The gimbal I started with was a Zhiyun Crane Original, I think, something like that, and it held my Sony a6000 and that Rokinon lens. It was only like 550 bucks, and now they go for like 350. Great for smaller cameras. If you have something bigger, you can go with a Ronin S, a Crane 2, a Ronin M. There's so many things to choose from, but you have to have a gimbal to shoot houses. I've seen people show up to shoot them without that, and it sucks, and it's not good. So be sure you get one. So you got all your equipment. What's the next thing? We only have, we're 2.5 minutes. So you have all your equipment. What's the next thing? You need to learn how to use your equipment. Be sure you figure out how to balance your camera on that gimbal. Be sure you know how to fly your drone. Be sure you know how to work your camera and actually press the record button, because it sucks when you don't press record and you come home and you try to edit something that's not there. And I'll be honest, the first time I ever shot a house, I didn't even open up my drone until I got there. I pulled it out of the box and charged it and then shot with it at the end of the day. And it was really hard, actually, and my footage really showed that I didn't know what I was doing. So be sure you get used to your stuff. It makes a big difference. So the next thing, set your camera in 1080 and shoot 60 frames a second. Be sure you pay attention to other things like setting your f-stop to maybe like f4 so you get a wider depth of field and it's not as shallow. And then you also don't forget to set your camera in manual focus and set your focus to infinity so that everything in your picture is in focus. Okay, cool, so you got all that set up. What's the next thing you do? You start filming. So I always shoot the interior before I did the exterior. I'll get my gimbal set up, my camera, go to the front door, and I would start through the entire house. There's so many different ways that you can shoot houses, but what I would recommend is keep it nice and simple, especially at first. A lot of these real estate agents want to show off the spacious rooms and show how the house flows. Take your time doing this. Keep it as steady as possible. Shooting at the 60 frames per second is going to help you when you slow it down to stabilize it, but you don't want to have to worry about it too much in post. So take your time. Just remember, don't get too complicated with this and keep it really simple. A push in or a pullback shot or something like that, or some slider shots turn out really, really nice. So you're done shooting the interior with your handheld setup. What are you gonna do next? Shoot the exterior. Get a shot of the front of the house and get a shot of the back of the house or a back deck or whatever it might be, and maybe some amenities. Be sure to capture all that, and getting all that with the handhelds really adds to the overall product of the video when you finalize it. So now you're done with all your handheld stuff, so you move on to your drone. First things you need to do, make sure your drone's in 4K, whether you're shooting 24 or 60. Be sure you have it set up in 4K so you don't get really mushy footage. So there's 3 shots I like to get always when I have my drone out. The first one is a push in or pull back on the front of the house. Super easy and a really simple shot to get. The next one is going to be an orbit, and you can do an orbit shot of the front of the house or you can do an orbit shot of the back of the house. I would recommend getting both. Those are always really nice. The third shot I always get is a nice wide view, far away enough from the property to show off the landscape and where it's at. So if there's a nice neighborhood or things like that, you can always show that off as well. All right, cool, so you got all your footage, so what are you gonna do now? It's time to edit it. Sit down in Premiere Pro, import all your footage, Select it all in the media box, right click on it, and modify it to 24 frames. This is gonna slow all your footage down so that when you drag it over, it's nice and slow and you don't have to mess with it too much on your timeline. The next thing you need to do is find a copyright-free song, a royalty-free song that you like that fits the house. This is huge. Be sure the songs aren't corny. Be sure it's not too overly acoustic or piano or something like that. Those are way overdone in these videos and you want to make them fun and feel a little different. Pick a cool song. For music recommendations, check below at the links and you can see some places where you can get some. So you pull your music over and then you start picking clips. I always start with the far away drone shot and then I'll do a tighter drone shot, maybe some of the tight handhelds of the exterior, and then I go to the interior. When you go to the interior, you want to really show off the layout of the house, so make it make sense as you're going through it. And what I typically do is every single beat on the song, I will cut to a new room or a new shot. So you have it nice and simple and it makes it easy for you. So a drone shot, when you hear a certain beat that makes sense, cut to another drone shot. When you hear another beat that makes sense, cut to the interior of the house and then go from there. Keep it nice and simple. And the last thing I'll tell you to do is finish off with another 1 or 2 drone shots and a nice title that has the address of the home or maybe the realtor's logo, whatever it might be. Hope I can fit this into 5 minutes. If not, I don't know. Thanks for tuning in. There's gonna be way more of these. If you have questions, drop them below or shoot me a DM, whatever you need to do. Talk to you soon.